I'm a 19 who is traveling alone on an 11-hour flight today, and a guy in his 20s is in the same row as me. I was exhausted because I only got 4 hours of sleep before the flight, so I could sleep on the plane, but this guy, we'll call him C, keeps trying to make conversation. C starts off by telling me he's autistic, and then asking me if I liked pop, and he keeps non-stop talking and rarely gives me a chance to speak, not that I wanted to. I tried to be polite because I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and I understand how social cues are difficult, so he probably can't tell I'm not in the mood. Over the course of the next 20 minutes I tell Z maybe 5 times I want to sleep and put my headphones on, and each time C begins speaking to me after maybe 2 minutes of silence. Finally, I was able to sleep for around 4 hours, but when I woke up, C started up again. I'm still really tired, and I had some personal issues the day before my flight, so I'm also socially exhausted, but I let him talk for a bit before I start watching a show on my phone. I tell him maybe 5 separate times that I'm trying to watch a show, and that I'm not interested in talking to him right now, but maybe later. C still keeps trying to talk to me, and when I snap a bit and tell him I'm getting a bit annoyed, he goes into a full-on self-hating "I'm so sorry, I'm horrible, God I'm just gonna shut up now" rant, and I feel bad because I should have been nicer to him, and I can understand emotions being too strong and spiraling. I tell Z that it's okay, and I just want some time to myself as I'm not the chattiest person, but maybe later we can talk. I put my headphones on and watched my show, but C kept trying to speak to me, but this time I ignored him, which was honestly a crappy move for me, but I just didn't have the energy at this point to interact with him. This was the wrong move, as he moved to get out of the row and stood in the aisle and began yelling at me. I didn't catch everything he said, but it was along the lines of "Why can't women believe not all men are bad? Some men are on your side. I'm a nice guy, why are you ignoring me?" He storms off to the bathroom, and I take that chance to ask a flight attendant if I can change my seat because he really freaked me out, and I didn't want to have a panic attack on a plane. The flight attendants were amazing and got my stuff and moved me far away from him. I feel like I'm the jerk because he does have autism and I could have been more patient maybe, and ignoring him was a crap thing to do. Not the idiot. This sounds like a nightmare combination of being trapped on a plane with someone who is an autistic, possibly difficult to deal with, depending on the situation. Why can't women understand not all men are bad? Holy crap. Red flag. I'm so glad you asked to be moved. Autistic or not, you don't owe anyone more of your time or energy or attention. If you didn't want to talk, then you didn't want to talk, period, end of story. Him being autistic shouldn't trump your personal boundaries. I'm so sorry this happened to you. Literally seems like a nightmare. It's not your fault that he had a breakdown. Not the idiot. I have autism myself. One time on a flight I got separated from my son, who was 11 at the time. I could hear him the entire 1.5-hour flight 3 rows back talking non-stop about Transformers. I did hand sign to him to stop every 10 minutes, but he'd start again after about 5 minutes, and the teenage girl seemed amused. After the flight, I actually slipped her a 20 because I felt bad, even though she was super friendly to him. I talked to him later about making conversation and not letting it be one-sided. If someone says they want to sleep, to deny them a basic human right is wrong. If they can't understand that, they need to be with a caregiver. Not the idiot. Autism is not an excuse to act like a nice guy. I work with autistic teens, and sometimes I have to tell them I'm busy right now and can't talk. You would have been fine to say, "Excuse me, I'm very tired right now and want to take a nap," or, "Excuse me, I'm not feeling social today and don't feel like talking." No promise of later, because you don't owe them that, just, "I don't want to talk," full stop. You are allowed to set boundaries with people, even people with disabilities. As someone once told me that you do not have to accept unacceptable behavior. So I, 19, live with my cousin, 20, because we go to the same university. I have type 1 diabetes and a chronic lung condition that requires me to be on oxygen therapy full time. My aunt, cousin's mom, never believed that I'm as sick as I am, even with the near constant hospitalization through my childhood and 2 emergency surgeries. They'd mock me when I couldn't attend cousins' birthday parties or take part in sports as much as she does. This has rubbed off on my cousin. She also believes that I'm faking being sick. She's publicly accused me several times of having Munchausen syndrome in front of mutual friends. Munchausen's is a mental disorder where people repeatedly act like they have an ailment that they do not. Because of this, our friends are split on who to believe. I have an oxygen concentrator in the apartment. She complains about it non-stop, as it can get a bit loud, and it's turned on all the time. The oxygen gets delivered through a nasal cannula, and it has a 40 feet long wire, so I can move about the apartment. I can't even remember how many times she's accidentally tripped or stepped on my wire, causing it to fall out or get disconnected. My parents got me a designer bag for my birthday. Immediate snarky comments from her. It's not like she can even go clubbing. Why does she need something like that? Or she won't get a boyfriend who dates someone that's hooked to a machine all the time. A few days after that, I had to go out for a while. Told her I'd be back in a few hours. Finished what I needed to do quicker than I thought, so I went home a bit earlier than I said I would. I go inside and see her messing with the stuff in the spare room that my family stays in. We have 2 spare rooms, one which her family uses and one which mine uses when they come to stay with us. We have 4 bedrooms in total. I keep my medical supplies in the spare room that my family uses, so hers can't complain. She's rummaging through my supplies. I see unused Omnipods taken out of its packaging and thrown on the ground. Cut up tubing and pills everywhere. Hundreds of dollars of medicine and medical equipment wasted. I immediately ask her what she's doing. She starts stuttering. It was obvious that she wasn't expecting me to be there. I call my parents and tell them what happened. They bring me back home and tell my cousin to leave the apartment, although it's paid for the next 2 months. Her parents are begging us to let her stay there, especially since they won't be able to afford such a nice place on their own. My parents cover about 70% of the rent and all of the utilities, including Wi-Fi. Our entire family is split, especially since a cousin is denying it ever happened and saying I'm making stuff up to get her kicked out. Our friends are divided, most siding with me, but saying I'm mean for not letting her stay since she's poorer than me. She has shown you who she is. Forgiveness is for your soul, not for her sake. I tell you that she has messed with your stuff before. This is just the time she went so far you couldn't miss it, even if you hadn't walked in while it was happening. Don't forgive her yet, please. Don't let her keep living there. Get a roommate who is a human being. Her poverty isn't your problem. Don't let anyone make it your problem. Not the idiot. You have this wonderful gift now, clarity. You can see her and everyone else around you through this event, as if you could look into their minds and read their thoughts. But please don't be conflicted. She's nuts. Did she actually think you would just sit back and continue living with her after doing something like this? I'm guessing you've taken a lot of crap off her in the past, but for your own sake, enough is enough. Not the idiot. Family or not, I'd be tempted to call the police and get this on record, because you can guarantee either she or her mom will try and get you in trouble for kicking her out. I can't believe there are people telling you to forgive and forget her over this. She was attempting to sabotage your health. She has to go for your safety. She seems like a horrible person. Not the idiot. Do not let her back in. Don't budge, this girl will put your life in danger. What would happen if you went low and she's there? You absolutely can't count on this person to call for an ambulance for you. She'll think you're making it up. I'm assuming she's older, not a child. Time to get a reality check. I think your parents should tell her to pay for what she broke too. No one who even thinks someone is faking an illness would destroy anything medical. Find another roommate or find another smaller place just for yourself. I think your parents can't blame you for wanting to concentrate on school and not this. So basically, the place me and my boyfriend live doesn't have a washing machine. His mom kindly told us we can use her machine when we visit, which is usually twice a week. We arrived with our laundry, but she was using the washing machine was in use. We waited, but then I realized I can't wait around because I had work. I told my boyfriend to just chuck the clothes in, mostly my underwear and one dress, when the washer was done. So I leave and come back to ask my boyfriend where my clothes are. He said that he only did one load before he needed to leave, so he just left the clothes there for next time. Okay. We went there 2 days later and asked his mom where my stuff is. She doesn't know. I look everywhere and think that is weird, I really need to wash my underwear. 2 more days pass, and I ask her again, where are my clothes? She said that she thinks she threw them away while cleaning her house. She said she didn't know who they belonged to, so she just threw them away, and she is very sorry. Well, I was really upset about this. First of all, this felt really personal. None of my boyfriend's clothes were missing, plus she lives with her 2 teenage daughters who have very similar Victoria's Secret underwear to mine, and none of their stuff was missing either. Of course, they are just clothes, I can always get new stuff, but for me, it is about the principle. I told my boyfriend that I need her to pay me back for what she threw away. At least $100 since she also threw away a dress of mine. He thinks I'm being a jerk for no reason. He said, you have plenty of money, just buy new ones, and also it was an accident. Again, it is about the principle. If I accidentally threw away her stuff, I would be expected to pay for its replacement, and I would do it because I'm not a crappy human. I've asked his mom for the money, and she said she will pay me soon, whatever that means. I'm sure she will, but now the whole family, including my boyfriend, act like they have some problem with me. They don't treat me the same, and all I can think of is what the hell? Why are you mad at me? If you are the one who throw away my things, not the idiot. If you tell someone they can use your washing machine, and you find unexpected clothing in or around that area, where the heck did she think it came from? It didn't even occur to her to ask. Either she's incredibly stupid, or she did it on purpose to screw with you. Also, who finds a bunch of clothes in their house, and thinks I don't recognize these, the best just throw them away? If her excuse were true, which I don't believe, then she should have asked herself where they might have come from, and then remembered that you guys were doing laundry there. Either way, regardless of the reason, she disposed of your property, and is responsible for replacing it. Not the idiot. She offered you the machine, and you accepted. She knew you would be doing washing there. I'm not entirely sure who just throws away clothes they don't recognize, but that aside, your boyfriend is being the idiot here for not supporting you, and for not telling his mother that the clothes were there to be washed. She knew who those belonged to. She did it on purpose. Your boyfriend's mother didn't have to let you use the machine if she didn't want you to. Tell your boyfriend he needs to go with you to rebuy everything and pay for it, and he can fight with mom over getting reimbursed for it. Not the idiot. This is just weird. I can't think of any reason she would have thrown your things away. Upon finding strange clothes in her laundry, she would have immediately realized you must have left them there, so I don't know what the heck is going on there. I don't see how your boyfriend thinks it was an accident either. Be careful. Maybe he's trying to break you up. This might be one very nasty and manipulative woman you're dealing with here, and her son might be wrapped around her little finger. Because there's just no way this was an accident, and demanding she pay, whilst it is your right, may have added fuel to the fire. My 7-year-old son just developed an allergic reaction yesterday after dinner because his cousin accidentally fed him some peanuts, which is something he is highly allergic to. He developed red rashes all over his body, and he told us he felt itchy. I decided to make the move to drive him to the nearest hospital, and it was at that moment I was stopped by my mother-in-law. She told me that in the midst of this pandemic, it is unnecessary to pay a visit to the doctor, and that it's putting us at risk of getting the COVID-19 virus. She said he can have some over-the-counter medication, sleep it off, and it'll be fine tomorrow. She backed her statement up with how it has happened before. At that time we were unaware of his peanut allergy, he slept it off, and he was fine the next day. Now, I've heard of stories of how fatal an allergic reaction can turn out, so obviously I wasn't going to put my son's life at stake just because my mother-in-law thinks she's right. I insisted on bringing my son to the hospital, and I did. At the hospital, my husband started sending me a chain of messages asking me why I humiliated his mother by not listening to her, that she sounded logical, and I was just being overly paranoid over an allergic reaction. Apparently, my mother-in-law is now victimizing herself, calling her sisters, crying and complaining about how I went against her wishes. My husband, who was working night shift, even ended his work earlier just to go back home to appease his mother for my supposed defiance. He didn't even ask about our child or drop by at the hospital, despite knowing we were there. The reason why I am starting to doubt my stance is because at the hospital, the pediatrician assured me that it's just a common allergic reaction, that it wasn't anything endangering. Things are looking bad on me as a result, as if I was purposefully going against my mother-in-law because now she was right about it. Am I the idiot here? Should I have listened to her? Now everyone's turning their backs against me. The same applies to my husband. Not the idiot. Peanuts should be banned from the house, in any form, for the foreseeable forever. Allergic reactions, especially when they develop into full-blown anaphylaxis, can lead to a very serious situation very quickly. Your mother-in-law sounds like a classic abusive narcissist, so good on you for not reinforcing her behavior. I'd have a sit-down with your husband as well, and talk about why he didn't even ask about how his son was. I'm assuming you told him and that he didn't just hear it from your mother-in-law, who may have spun the story. If you told him how bad it was, then you do need a serious chat about his priorities. Not the idiot. You're not a doctor, she's not a doctor. You took him to a doctor. You had no way to know how severe that reaction would be, and you played it safe, probably because you love your kid and would prefer to not have a funeral for him. Your mother-in-law is insane and a narcissist. Your husband supports and enables her toxic behavior, even to the detriment of the health of your child. I wonder, would she still find a way to make herself the victim if he had died after you took her advice? Also, you have a husband problem too. Does he often put his mother before you? That's not okay. Not the idiot. Please don't ever leave your kid alone with mother-in-law. She sounds like the type to keep giving him the allergen just to prove you wrong. She doesn't take his allergies seriously and has shown that she wouldn't seek medical intervention. There was a sad story linked a while back about a woman whose mother didn't take her daughter's coconut allergies seriously, and when the girl, toddler, I think, slept over, she washed and braided coconut oil into the girl's hair. She went into shock, vomited and choked in her sleep. The girl passed away, and what can that crepey grandma do to fix this? Nothing anymore.